Guys, it's me, the Group with a Fear, back again with another video, and this is an original, 100% original new What If. And I don't want to wait for you guys, you guys want to wait, so I'll get right into it. So we start the story off as in Inko Midoriya. She just found out that she's being cheated on by her best friend, Mitsuki. And she didn't know this. And she didn't know the affair was going on. She was married with Hisashi, and they were going to have a kid. But then once she found out that Hisashi was intimate with Mitsuki, and this angered her so much, but she didn't want to show it. Until one day, while she was coming back from work, she saw Mitsuki laying down and getting fucked by Hisashi. Once Hisashi just sees Inko and just says, "Oh, you. Get the hell out. I'm busy." And Inko, her heart dropped and she started to cry and says, "How could you? You bastard!" And just runs out of the house. Mitsuki just says, "Wait, Inko, wait." And she's moaning. And this hurts Inko even more. So she ran all the way, far away as she can, until she reaches a hill. She just sits under this tree and says, "I can't believe them. How could they? How could he cheat on my best friend? I hate him. I can't believe I ever married him." And just wipes the tears off her face. But she started to cry even more. So this caught the attention of God. And for this one, I'm just going to say Lucifer. He did go against God, but God forgave him. And once God saw that she's crying, she told Michael, one of his 7 angels, to comfort her. So Michael, he comes down from heaven and just comes bearing gifts. So once Inko saw Michael and his wings, she fell on her knees and just couldn't believe that he was actually real. So I'm just going to say Inko, she's a Catholic. So she knows all about the angels and God and how the whole war came in and how they got sinned and everything. And she just couldn't believe that the real Michael is here. She just kneeled before him. And Michael just says, No. I do not deserve to be knelt, but by my Father." So Inko just says, "Wait, your father?" And you just see this bright light come through. And it has a voice. It said, "Yes, Inko, it's me, God. Why are you sad, my child?" And Inko just said everything. How she just got cheated on her best friend, and how Hisashi and her were married and everything. And she thought that they were in love. And she did not know that her best friend would ever do that to her. So Michael, he comforts her and says, "Don't worry. We have a special place for those who sin." And Inko just says, I just don't know what to do anymore." And God just says, "Live out your life. You still have more in you. I will give you one wish. And what do you want to wish for, child?" And Inko just says, "I want someone to love me for who I am." Michael, he just looks at his father and says, Father, she has a pure heart. Do you think, you'll give her a chance of you? And Inko just says, wait, what? Uh, no, he's God. You can't just brat out say that to your father. And God says, I may. But what is the catch here, Michael? And Michael just says, well, you're always stressed out. I never had an actual life. Sorry to say this, Father. But are you really happy? I seen how you are with the other angels. I see how you are rough with Lucifer. And I can see that you're unhappy. You have never been happy in heaven. You always show your love towards others, but they don't show love towards you. So, do you wish for me to rule over heaven? And while you have a life as happy as any other normal mortal could ever have, I will take over heaven, but enough time for you to come back. So, do you accept, Father? And God, he comes down, but he comes down differently. He has a silverish hair. He has wings on his back. He has a gown on him with a golden belt. And his eyes are as gold as the heavens with the sunrise just gleaming through it. And God just says, you're right, Michael. You notice that I'm not happy anymore. Well, I guess I could have a little bit of enjoyment here on Earth. I did create it, by the way. But I told myself I wouldn't interfere with humans anymore since, the whole flood. Michael just says, well, that was different. Those humans deserved it. But this is a moment. You can have this. You can actually have a good life. Just remember, I will take over heaven, and I will take care of it. And I will let you live your life from now on, God, or Father. God just says, fine. Only until I come back. I hope heaven is in good shape. And I don't want to see another war. If that happens, you're relieved of your archangel duties and be forced to live as an immortal. Do you understand this, Michael? Michael, he just bows down and says, do not fear, Father. I will take care of heaven at your place. And Michael, he just flies up. And he disappears. Inko, she's just on the ground, overwhelmed by his presence. But God, he just puts his hand on her and says, don't worry, my dear. I will take care of you from now on. Now, what should my name be? He's thinking to himself, and he said one thing. Zane. Zane Haricho. Or Zane Hatuke. Zane Hatuke. That shall be my name. And he calls down Gabriel, the messenger. And Gabriel comes down at a flash, like a little dot of light, as fast as anybody's ever seen, and says, yes, Father? And God just says, my name shall be Zane Hugatare. I want you to imprint this in every mortal's mind. I want you to know them my true name, and my name so forth. And Gabriel just says, yes, Father, and just zooms out of there. And Inko, she just thinks, am I really gonna take God? Like, the creation? And Zane, he goes up to Inko and says, "Do you not think this form suits me? I mean, it's kind of flashy, and I could lose the wings a little." And Inko, she just looks at this magnificent body and says, I guess you can lose the wings, but not all of them." And Zane just says, "Sure." So he snaps his fingers, and he only has 2 wings now. So he now became immortal, but only to the eyes of those who see him as that. Those who believed in him will see his true form. So Zane is now the god, or God's name is Zane. And he creates a huge house on Earth and made sure that he's wealthy enough. And Inko, she just thinks to herself, like, what? I know he was God and all, but jeez, I think this is a little bit at least overdoing it. And Zane just looks at her confused and says, "Overdoing it? I could reach this all the way to the heavens, and this wouldn't even be considered overdoing it. But I could see it why you mortals would think this." So he sized down the house enough to become a mansion. And she says, "I guess this could be better." So for the rest of her life, she has been with Zane. And Zane finally found happiness and love and compassion towards Inko. And she's not worried that if she's going to die or not. If she dies, she can even head to heaven. So, yeah. It's a win-win at his, thing. And Inko, she had never felt this way before. And she just felt all out happiness for herself and for Zane. Since she thought, maybe if this is what Michael says is true, and says that he never felt happiness before, only love towards others, but others don't love him, then I'm more than happy. I'm ecstatic. And this, they have gone out for dates, and Zane, he has never been or had a mortal body before. So it was kind of hard for him to adjust to a normal mortal life, since he had to do all the IDs and everything like that. And he just thinks to himself that this is stupid. Why did my creations ever do this? This is stupid. And Ingo just tells him all what's going on and everything and how he's supposed to do it. And yes, all-knowing God needs help making himself an ID. Yes, I'm making him that. And a couple years go by, and they're already married. And Zane talked to Inko about how if she would like to become God's wife and rule over heaven. But if she does that, that means she has to leave her old human self behind. He has to leave this place, this earth, since it's not fitting for the child. And he doesn't want others to hurt him. So Inko, she agrees. She says, "I don't really care. I would rather be with you than any other person in my whole life." And they kiss. And they head to heaven. And while they were heading towards it, her body is being separated. Now she has her spiritual body. Her body on earth is dead. And Zane guides her into heaven. While they're at the gates of heaven, just thousands of angels come and line up and bow. Once they see Inko, or this human of a person, walking with God, they're jealous because they had never seen God nor have enough higher rank to see him. So once they see him, some of them, they get jealous because they wanted to be at the same position as Inko. So Inko, she's getting, eyed at, but God just looks at him and they just bow down. They just don't want to, piss off God. So the trumpets are blaring, music is playing, and they're having a huge feast. And everyone is there. Lucifer, Rajiel, Seraphine, Raphael, Uriel, Gabriel, Michael. And Michael, he gives back the throne to God and said, "Here, Father, what shall we do now, since you're back?" And Zane just says, "Well, I'm having a new child." And everyone, their jaws drop and says, "Wait, child? With who?" And they just look at Inko and says, "Wait, her? A human? What's the meaning of this?" And God just looks at him straight in the eyes and says, "That's what I say. If you have something to say, or if you would disapprove of it, say it right here and now." And an angel comes up, and he's drunk, and says, "How dare you? God, you're this almighty figure, a symbol for everyone to worship, and yet you're dating this human? Remember the Watchers? Azazel? How you sent them to the darkest pits of hell for even, concubining humans? Women? And yet you're dating one, and you're having a child with one? You are no longer worth to even be called God." And this angel is apprehended by Michael. And Michael just looks at him and says, "Shut your mouth, or I'll send you down to the pits of hell with Uriel. Uriel will be your tormentor, your torturer." And Uriel, he just gets out his sword and says, "You know where angels go and die, right? I wouldn't mind sending you down there." And Lucifer, he gets up and says, "Dearie me, aren't we all gonna fight for a little while? I mean, this is a special evening." And Lucifer just looks at Inko and says, "Really, Father? You know you could have gone a better woman. That's all I'm saying." And Rajiel, an angel who solves conflicts, he says, "Alright guys, calm down. We really don't want to get into another war by this time." And God just says, "Enough!" And everyone just shuts up. And he says, "From now on, you will worship my child. You should worship his name. And don't you dare ever talk, Lucifer. I brought you back to heaven only for love and compassion. If I was any other person, you'd already be down there suffering. Got that?" And Lucifer just says, "Ooh, I got the chills. Who knew God was so arrogant?" Michael just cuts Lucifer off and says, "Arrogant? You're the one who did a whole fucking overthrowing, taking of God. I had to stab you right in the fucking back to get you out of heaven." And Lucifer just says, "And you were only lucky because God helped you." And God just says, "No, Lucy. It was just only Michael. I did not even assist him. I didn't even know you were going to overtake me." And Lucifer just says, "Yeah, right. I refuse. I refuse to take this human as my mother. I refuse her. I revoke you, every last one of you. And Lucifer just gets up and walks off. And Gabriel, he just, watching all this and, in awe. And everyone just sees Lucy leave. And God, he's just stressed out by this point. And Inko just comforts, Zane and says, "Don't worry, I bet he'll come around. Just give him some time." And God just says, How much time do you have to put up this child?" And Inko just says, "Well, I guess I could see why you're so stressed out. I mean, you are the creation of everything. And my son." And she just, was called rubbing her stomach and says, "Will be the next king, I believe, right?" And God just picks her up and says, "Of course, our son will be the king of the earth, the icon of peace, a symbol of hope, one that will destroy evil." And I hope everyone hears this, for I, God, will step down as soon as my son turns 20. My son will head down to earth, and his trial will commence. No one will help him. No one will save him. No one will pray to him until he is finished. Now, does everyone understand this? Michael, he bows and says, "Yes, Father." Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, Seraphim, and Ragil all bow and says, "Yes, Father." And now is the end. Now, let's skip about 18 years. Now, Izuku is the Prince of Heaven, the icon of hope. His power is far greater than all the archangels combined, and is sitting on his throne, right here on the whole picture. And he has blonde hair, and he's wearing this royalty, whole outfit, and he's just bored. He calls up Michael and says, "Are we gonna do something? I'm kind of bored up here. Are we gonna do anything? I already fought you. I already fought Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, Seraphim, and Lucifer. Well, Lucifer, he was much weaker than I thought, but at least you, Michael, brother, gave actually a good fight." And Michael, he just bows and says, "My brother, Prince, your trials will commence soon enough, and your gifts will be given to you." And Izuku just says, "Gifts? What kind? I'm kind of curious." And all the angels started to come, and even God was there. God says, "My son, your trial will commence at the age of 20, or as long as you wish. You'll rule over heaven by a certain age. You will stay on earth. You will protect that country, or city, if I may ask, or may say, and you will take care of your own citizens. Do you understand, Izuku? I'm counting on you." And Izuku, he gets up and says, "Yes, Father. Now, what are these trials?" And God just says, "Well, love is one of them, perseverance, faith, hope, and destruction. And Izuku, he questions the last one. What do you mean by destruction, Father? And God just says, well, as there is creation, there are always destruction. And you must do whatever it takes to get what you need. Now, let's start this trial. And Michael, he brings out his lance. And he just gives it to Izuku. He says, take this. You'll need it. This is my gift. Gabriel, he comes in and gives a golden trumpet. And Uriel, he gives his fury sword, what he used to protect the Garden of Eden and the gate of heaven. But he is long retired. So he gives this sword to him. Raphael, he gives a small bottle and says, this mixture will heal anything, diseases to those of life-threatening death. And Seraphil, he gives a flute. Raguel, he gives him a book about good and evil. And Lucifer, he just gives him a book on how to pick up chicks. And Izuku, he questions this last one and says, really, brother? Do you really have to give me this? And Lucifer just says, yeah, or you won't be such a pussy to talk to a girl. And everyone just looks at him and says, what? It's true. You can't even talk to a girl, without being flustered and all. And Izuku just says, that's not true. I am, researching. And Lucifer just, waves this off and says, yeah, researching. Whatever. And God says, I will now strip you of your power. You will only need to use these gifts that your brothers have given you. Now, go, my son, and take your crown. And Lucifer just stops God and says, wait, I got him something as well. And gives him this outfit. And Izuku just looks at it and says, wouldn't this make me look evil? And Lucifer just says, no, this will make you look at least badass. Now, go. And Lucifer just pushes Izuku. Now Izuku has fallen. Now he's at Earth. And he lands on this strange park. And Izuku just scratches his head and says, where the hell am I? Oh, might as well change my identity. And he just puts his hand on his hair and moves it back, changing its color to green. His eyes turn back to black. His outfit, he puts it on. And he looks different. He calls himself Izuku Midoriya. So he takes on his mother's last name. And just says, I will make you all proud. And he opens up, he just slashes in the air, creating a little hole, hole of darkness. And he puts in all the gifts that his brothers gave him. And says, this will be my new palace. I can kind of get used to this. And just walks. Now this is where I'm going to end it up, guys. If you guys want to see more of this, or do you want to see, more improvement, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and write it down in the comments. And I'll see you all later. Bye.